In Yellowstone, a long-forgotten cry rings out. The wolf, once revered as brother, teacher, and worthy rival on these vast hunting grounds, then driven out by fear and mistrust. Now, after more than 6 decades, a controversial experiment brings the ultimate canine predator back into the heart of the West.
There's something about a wolf that is the definition of wildness, the preeminent wild animal.
For park biologists like Doug Smith, nothing less than the wild soul of the park is at stake.
We persecuted them for so long. They've come to be a symbol about what humans have done wrong, and now a symbol about what humans can fix.
A lifelong fascination with wolves has brought Doug here, anxious to learn how this ancient place will respond to the return of its top dog. In the process, he will find himself swept up in the unfolding saga of one wild canine family. Its hardships and affections, its losses and its triumphs.
The Druid Peak Pack is the only pack in the park where we know every individual, literally the ebb and flow, the pulse of their life is something that we've been able to record.
Join us now as we track the fortunes of the Druids, a wolf pack reborn in the crucible of Yellowstone. High in the plateaus of the Rocky Mountains, an alchemy of earth, wind, fire, and ice works a singular magic. Most of the world's geysers spew and sputter here, marvels that inspired a novel idea in 1872, the creation of the world's first national park. Here, the great creatures we almost exterminated in our rush westward would make their last stand and stage a comeback. Now another comeback has the world holding its breath. Canis lupus, the gray wolf, is making a new debut on this wild stage.
Wolves are one of the hardest animals to watch. They're shy, they're secretive, they live in remote areas. To get a look at a wolf is, for some people, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And here in Yellowstone, we're seeing rare, natural process with a front row seat.
Biologist Doug Smith heads the wolf reintroduction program. Now making his rounds from the air, he is about to be rewarded with an extraordinary sight.
Yeah, right there, yeah, okay.
Below him, an ancient life and death saga plays out. North America's premier predator, the wolf, has taken down its most intimidating prey, a bison. It's a sight not seen here since the early 1900s, a time when wolves were less than welcome. A century ago, many thought the only good wolf was a dead one. Reviled as a threat to livestock, the canines were hunted down across the country. The Park Service joined in the effort, and by the 1930s, Yellowstone could be declared wolf-free. And so it remained for more than 60 years. In the 1970s, the new conservation movement inspired plans to return the wolf to Yellowstone. Plans that would be blocked again and again by neighboring ranchers who feared for their livelihoods. But by 1995, the decision was made, and the wolves were coming home. 14 furry recruits all the way from Canada made their way into the park, amidst curiosity, controversy, and jubilation. For those who had fought for the return of the wolf, it was a moment of triumph and trepidation.
The feeling of participating in something historic was an overriding feeling. It was literally 20 years of effort and work to bring these animals back. Arguably the most controversial predator in all of North America. You know you're doing something worthwhile, something much bigger than yourself. It's a tremendous feeling.
The plan? To introduce several imported packs over the course of 3 years. For the first 10 weeks, they would be kept in pens to get acclimated and to shed any tugs of homesickness. The humans' task? To convince the wolves that Yellowstone was full of good things to eat, without allowing them to get too fond of the hands that fed them.
The biggest challenge was maintaining all these wolves in pens, keeping these wolves well-fed and unbothered by people. Wolves don't like people, and these wolves never got used to us inside the pen. Absolutely no habituation to us.
Afraid that some of the wolves might reject each other in these close quarters, the biologists were relieved to find they were consorting in the age-old way. This litter was conceived in the pen. It seemed the canines were taking to Yellowstone, but would Yellowstone take to them? This is the Lamar Valley, the intended home for several of the introduced packs. Teeming with wildlife, the Lamar has been dubbed the Little Serengeti of North America. But for more than 6 decades, it was a Serengeti without its lion. In a wolfless world, the mantle of top dog had fallen to the wolf's smaller cousin, the coyote. Wily? Perhaps. Hungry? Definitely. But the coyote is no wolf when it comes to prey the size of elk. Even a naive deer fawn, finding itself in the coyote's hungry sights, has more than a fighting chance against so small a predator. Coyotes take a toll on newborn elk and deer, but a 5-month-old fawn is more than his match. The fearsome grizzly might seem a fitting successor to the wolf, but elk evolved with the swifter canine nipping at their heels. Once the calves are 2 months old, the herd has little to fear from the great bear. Without the wolf, the park was missing its top predator, and some scientists were concerned about the consequences.
Not having the wolf here created an imbalance, and we want to restore that balance. There are very few wild places left in the lower 48, and we're trying to kind of say, stop and restore wildness. We want nature to function the way it was, not how humans have made it.
The moment of truth has arrived. After 10 weeks in the pen, the wolves watch intently as biologists cut a hole in the fence. They've already spurned the open front gate. It reeks of humans. Even the new opening seems untrustworthy, until the alpha male makes a momentous decision.
One's out.
With each canine release, human spirits soar.
Two are out. Many people were tearful. The emotional burden that was lifted off of people's shoulders was tremendous. Now, what was going to happen? Would this take? Would the wolves go back to Canada? What are they going to do?
Spring 1996. One Canadian wolf pack makes its American debut. Their alpha male leads them into the wilderness, under the shadow of the mountain that will become their namesake. With Druid Peak as a backdrop, the pack sorts itself into the strict hierarchy of wolf social life. Big number 38 settles into the role of top dog or alpha male.
Number 38 was a monstrous individual, bigger than most wolves. He's the only wolf that broke out of his cage on the way to Yellowstone.
Together, he and his mate, number 40, make a handsome matched pair. The alpha female is playful and affectionate with him. But she'll quickly earn a reputation as perhaps the fiercest wolf in the pack.
Number 40, the alpha female, is all business. She runs the pack. I mean, when she gets up, she's got to look to her face that I'm either going to beat up on my sister, I'm going to kill a coyote, I'm going to kill an elk, I'm going to kill another wolf, but I'm going to go out there and do something. And she doesn't rule it in a forgiving way. It's put up or get out. She kicked her mother out of the pack. She's kicked one of her sisters out of the pack, and she's in process of kicking a second sister of hers out of the pack.
That second sister, number 42, is the Cinderella of the pack. She works hard and spends most of her free time groveling before her betters, the alpha pair. Her days with the pack are numbered. Sooner or later, she will almost certainly be driven out. Still, she clings to the only family she's ever known.
The Druids are a well-oiled machine. They kind of move with a certain swagger that says, watch out elk and watch out other wolves. We own this chunk of Yellowstone.
But swagger is not enough in this wilderness. The lifeblood of the pack is the hunt, and it may take several good kills a week to keep these dogs well fed. With their easy ground-eating strides, the pack appears deceptively casual about the business of the hunt. Each in tune with the rhythm of the chase, they pass the baton of pursuit from wolf to wolf. They seem to be thoroughly enjoying themselves. Only when their prey shows signs of tiring will they turn deadly serious. The alpha female is fleet and determined. but her Cinderella sister is the real greyhound of the pack. It seems the Druids will have no problems feeding themselves, but starvation is not the only danger here.
Right after release, the Druid Peak Pack had their territory in and around Lamar Valley. They rarely left. Abruptly, one time they did leave, though, and they left up Cache Creek and crossed a pass, and they left the park, which isn't as protected an area, and it put them in possible danger. Because there's a lot of people out there who really hate wolves, and we're worried.
Beyond the boundaries of the park, all the wolves would be at risk, but the huge alpha male would be the one to pay the ultimate price. Day after day, the team monitors the pack's movements, and then comes the sound they dread, a signal indicating a wolf hasn't moved in 5 hours. Big number 38 is dead, shot, perhaps by a hunter or a rancher.
To lose the alpha male is a significant blow. The alpha male is a dominant animal in the pack. It directs the pack, leads the pack, does a lot of the killing, and most importantly is a breeder. So here the alpha female was without a mate. She had no way of reproducing that year. And so it was a possibly fatal blow to that pack.
Eventually, the remaining Druids straggle back into the park, only to find an intruder in their territory. It's a young male from the neighboring Rose Creek pack, in search of a place to call his own and a mate. But he's on dangerous turf. Twice before, members of his clan were killed when they strayed into Druid territory. But something tells him the Druids are not what they used to be. The missing bass note in the Druid's mournful chorus may confirm his suspicions. No alpha male giving voice. What now unfolds has rarely been witnessed and never before caught on film. During a 6-hour game of cat and mouse, the Druids test the newcomer.
A wolf joining another pack really comes down to life or death for that wolf. If it works out, that animal's going to breed, and maybe breed for many years. If it doesn't, they're dead in an instant. And I got the impression that it was up to that wolf trying to join the pack, that it was truly a test of his social skills. And it was just hanging on a hair about how it would come out. And he stood there, and all the other wolves came to him. And he stood his ground. First the alpha female, then the beta female. And watching it, it was almost as if like they were testing what he would do. And he stood there, he looked at him, and he wagged his tail.
With a wolfish embrace, the deal is sealed. The Druid Peak pack has its new alpha male. It's time for introductions all around, and everyone seems thoroughly delighted with the newcomer. With winter creeping into the Lamar Valley, Doug and his team keep a close eye on the pack.
Over there. And they had that calf kill right over here.
Right.
Maybe they're back hanging around there.
One question is now uppermost in their minds. Will the new Druids prove as efficient a hunting unit as the old Druids? Their survival as a pack will depend on it.
Wolves are classic sifters and sorters. Wolves take a look at a herd of elk, and they have a keen eye, and they are literally easing through those animals, looking for something awry. And they kind of go around like they're not doing anything, but they're watching every single animal in that herd. And once they see something not quite right, they're like a fighter pilot locking in on a target, and they know. You can see their whole disposition change. From an easy lope, they turn it up to a just full out, straight out gallop. I've seen situations where elk who have been targeted by wolves try and lose themselves in a group of comrades, and it doesn't work. The wolf has got its eye on that elk, and no matter what it does, they can't get away.
There will be dinner tonight for the new Druids, and for an enterprising scavenger or two. The wolves gorge themselves at the carcass. Each may consume 20 pounds of meat at a sitting. Afterwards, meat drunk, they stagger off to digest their meal from a vantage point, where they can keep a lazy eye on their kill. A coyote senses that the new alpha male is a tolerant sort when well fed. But the rest of the Druids are notorious for killing coyotes, so he'd better have eyes in the back of his head. The alpha female, though full and bloodied from her meal, is not about to let a mere coyote filch from her carcass. But the coyote cannot turn down the opportunity for a free meal, and decides to push his luck. The alpha female has had enough. The powerful wolf has a higher top speed than the coyote, and she's 3 times its size. A single slip might be fatal. With full stomachs, the Druids finally relent. An eagle picks over the now uncontested carcass. But the bird won't be the last to pick over the kill. The biologists, too, have something to glean from the grim remains of the elk.
Scapula laying right here in the
What kind of impact are the wolves having on the other creatures of Yellowstone? A little forensic work at the scene provides some valuable clues.
One of the things we're trying to learn about is what kind of elk wolves are killing. Are wolves killing elk at random, or are they very, very selective? Pretty well cleaned up. Jawbone. Wolves are not just killing any animal they want. There are certain things that make an animal vulnerable to wolf predation. She's probably 15 plus years old at least.
Worn teeth give Doug a good idea of how old the elk was, but a glimpse into the bone marrow will prove even more telling.
Yeah, it should look like peanut butter, white, and
it's all red.
this elk was old, very old, probably 15 years or older, and the marrow on it is in very poor condition. So this animal was barely hanging on, and the wolves spotted that, and that's probably why they attacked her and were successful. Wolves are not random killers, but wolves are very selective killers. They have to find an animal that's got a problem before they can bring it down. If this elk was healthy, there's a good chance it wouldn't have been killed.
Except in high summer, snow can sweep into the Lamar Valley in an instant. For biologists suddenly working in near blizzard conditions, the weather is instructive in its own way.
We love it out here, and if you didn't love weather like this, you couldn't study wolves, because wintertime is the wolves' favorite time of year by far. This is what they're out in, and they act like it doesn't even bother them. And here's an animal that has to get kicked in the head every time they want to go eat, and they look like life is just grand. Oblivious to all this hardship, out there on their own, and really, I think the key to life is just don't think about it too much. Do the best you can, take your hard knocks, don't worry about the ones that are coming in the future. And maybe if that's a lesson for me, then I'll take it.
But philosophy can be cold comfort when winter comes in earnest. For the grazing animals, finding even a few mouthfuls of grass becomes a chore. And moving through the deep snow seems a Herculean task. The season does not tolerate weakness of any kind. An injured owl attracts hungry curiosity from all quarters. In the end, it is the coyote who delivers the final blow. Even the winter-loving wolf struggles in the first deep powder of the season. Bull elk have joined forces for protection, and this early in the season they're still well fed. Their elegant defensive formations and the deep powder foil the hungry wolves. Even in better conditions, only about 1 in 4 hunts is successful. And on this snowy day, the Druids will go hungry.